For those, let's go ahead and hop into it, right? So I did not start off with multifamily as my first investment. It wasn't where I started at. I actually house hacked. And so I try to have conversations with people in this group. I've had a lot of conversations with people in this group, and what I have advised them to do is to go buy a 2 to 4 unit property prior to trying to go buy, 15, 20, 50, 100 unit property, whatever it is, right? Start off at a 2 to 4 unit because logically it just makes sense for a lot of people. With that being said, today we're going to spend all of our time talking about 2 to 4 units. How do you do it? Why do you do it? How do you make it happen? How is it a reality to you? And I think this is a great subject matter, and you will get a lot of value out of it. So we're going all in. If you've got questions, feel free to drop those questions right in to the chat. Try to get those taken care of. If we have time permitted, but put those questions in there. Also, if you're on Facebook Live, we'll be monitoring there as well. And let me go ahead, for those who don't know who I am, who's this person, just yapping about this apartment game on the internet. My name is Jason Stubblefield. If you can see my screen, see my Zoom, people give me a head nod if you can. But what you're looking at right now is snscapitalpartners.com. Soon to be rebranded, but not at the moment. But that's like Sam capitalpartners.com. This is a website. You can read up more about me. We got testimonials from people who invested with us. We got some of our properties. Started investing in apartment complexes in 2016, grew a portfolio to a little over 1,000 units. We are continually buying properties, just closed on the property this week, and looking for more apartments. So if you want to know more about me and more about the company, you can do it there. Also, if you're interested in hearing about our investments, if you go to the Invest tab and you go to this join our community, click join now. That's a brief form, and you'll be able to be put into our world, right? So you hear about these great investments that we have, and all right, I did say it was great, but forgive me for that. But anyways, I think they're damn good. I wouldn't be doing them. So if you want to hear about them, join there. You be in our community. You get a list or you get the opportunity to hear about projects as we bring them out to you. Also, if you're looking to take your apartment investing to the next level, y'all probably looking at picture me with glasses or whatever happened right there. But anyways, also, if you're interested in multifamily and you want to be able to take it to the next level, you need some help trying to get started, reach out to me and my team. We've got something that is pretty extraordinary that we're doing as well. But with all that out the way, no other questions, I want to go ahead and introduce our guest speaker for today. This is Mr. Mark Jones II. I met him. I've known about him for a while. He's got a great Instagram following, great social media presence, shares a lot of information about 2 to 4 units. He is a real estate agent out in the West Coast, out in LA, and he has come over via Zoom over to the Atlanta area to sort of share his wisdom about going from 2 to 4 units. So Brother Mark, man, go ahead and talk to us. Let me unmute you. There you go. Up. I think I messed it up.
Yeah, you muted me after unmuted me, but we're speaking live now. Thank you, man. Honestly, so you said that you knew about me for a while, but I knew about you for a while. So I actually followed Jason on my personal account. My business account is Living Rent Free, no G, and I just post about how to invest in your first 2 to 4 unit multifamily, or how to house hack your first 2 to 4 unit multifamily. But I aspire to do what Jason's doing. So I love that you guys are all tapped in with him. He produces some great information on social media, and Facebook Lives and all of that. So I mean, I just want to give you your props, man. Young brother doing it big. So I appreciate you, man. I really do.
Man, respect. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's mutual. So just to be clear, so on Facebook Live, there's more people that are watching outside of just the Zoom, right? I just never done this before.
Yep. There's two live streams simultaneous, right? So we're on Facebook and
And Zoom.
Zoom.
Okay, perfect. Cool. All right. So I have a presentation prepared. If I can share it, I'm not sure.
I got you. Yep. Let me go
Yeah, I
ahead
just
and
need
give
to give
you.
me privilege.
All right, good deal.
Okay, cool. So I should be able to share it now.
Yep.
Okay, if you guys can see this, just
I
put
can see it. Yep.
something. Okay, got it. We're good to go. I wonder if we could do if we present it. Let me know if you guys can still see it. Hold on. It's in full screen. Can you still see it when it's in full screen?
We can.
I can. Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Oh
All right,
man,
so
I even got my name for Jason Stubblefield. Like, man, come on, bro. I'm honored.
man, like I said, bro, like when you reached out to me, I was like, man, you don't even know I follow you on. I listen to all your videos on my personal side, on my private page. You know what I mean? I'm always tracking brothers putting out good information. But okay, so let's talk today, everyone, about buying your first 2 to 4 unit multifamily. I don't know where everyone kind of is in their investment journey, but much like Jason, I started off by house hacking as well, which we'll discuss further in the presentation. But house hacking is basically when you turn your house into an asset. So you live in one unit if you're buying a duplex, triplex, or 4 unit, and you rent out the other 1, 2, or 3 units, depending on what you buy. You can also house hack a single family, which is how I started. So as a young brother, I was working, just graduated from college. I was trying to figure out how to get ahead. I bought a single family property, lived in the master bedroom, and rented it out to some young guys, my age, guys and girls actually, my age, and they paid for my mortgage. And so I lived for free, and that's where my brand Living Rent Free came from. But let's jump right into it, you guys. So we're gonna have some discussion topics today. First things first, I'll talk to you about who I am, a little bit about my credentials and background. We're going to cover the benefits of home ownership, but specifically related to buying those 2 to 4 unit multifamily properties. And then we're going to talk about home ownership decoded, or the requirements for qualification / approval, so that we can get you qualified and pre-approval ready to buy and start investing. And then getting deeper into house hacking and like what it is exactly for beginners, and how to really understand it and take advantage of it. And then the last part is a Q&A session. So what we can do is put the questions in the chat, and then at the end we'll save all the questions to the end, and then we can just run through the questions, and then yeah, we'll go from there. So let's get it cracking. Okay, so who am I? All right, so at my core, this is not the professional, quote unquote, just me, you know what I mean? LA native. I saw a bunch of inspirational like real estate development, coming up in LA. I just saw people building like malls and new homes being built, and I've always been pretty social, and so I would just walk up to people as a young guy, like, "Hey, I see you. Before it was a single family, now it's a huge apartment building. Like, what's the background on this? Or how'd you do it?" And I noticed people would always come up in like Mercedes or really nice cars, the kind of boss, the developer, the owner, the investor. And so I was really interested. And so growing up, I think seeing that ownership was key as well. So like my mom and my father, they own their primary residence, and so that kind of planted the seed for me. But again, we talk about generational wealth. It's like a common thing, right? Closing the wealth gap. It's a common conversation, but there is no real wealth without real estate. So 90% of millionaires have money invested in real estate. They didn't make all their money in real estate, but they at least have that exposure to real estate, whether it's investing with great people like Jason, or in their own privately held portfolio, right? And then me, I love Mexican food. It's just delicious, right? So that's just a little bit about me. And then the credential side. So we're listening to this guy, but why is he a guest speaker? Like, is this guy even legit at all? So besides me liking Mexican food, let's get into some of my background as a real estate investor. So I've been investing in real estate for like the last decade, about the last decade. I own 14 units across 4 multifamily properties in both Los Angeles on the West Coast and on the East Coast out in Pennsylvania. I work as a real estate agent, but I'm focused on helping those that want to invest in small multifamily, whether that's buying or selling here in Los Angeles. And then I'm also a business student at UCLA, and I'm just studying real estate. So everything is focused on real estate. But how Jason and I connected is that I'm also an entrepreneur and I have an online business and platform. It's called Living Rent Free. Not hashtag, what is it called? The username, the handle. The handle is down there in the corner, so you guys can follow me. I post daily, multiple times a day, giving out free education and information for people. And then we have some paid stuff on the back end, right? Oh, I didn't say we've helped students and people like you all buy over $30 million worth of multifamily real estate in almost every state in the country. So this information is applicable basically wherever you live, as long as it follows the laws, American laws. Benefits of home ownership. So let's get right into it. The financial benefits of actually owning. So here's some of the benefits of home ownership. And when I say home ownership, just think of it as basically ownership in multifamily. So we can kind of rephrase it as that, but it includes multifamily or single family, depending on what route you go. So something great is you could deduct the interest paid on your mortgage. So it's actually tax deductible. You obviously want to talk to your accountant and things like that anytime we talk about the IRS and tax laws, because this is just for educational purposes. I'm not a CPA. But one of the best benefits of owning a multifamily property, 2 to 4 unit, is the appreciation factor. So appreciation is when your property goes up in value, it increases in value. And the importance of this is that during times of inflation, like um, we've been experiencing over this pandemic in the last 3 years, is that people that hold assets, that hold real estate, or that hold stocks, etc., their assets rise in value, and so their net worth or their wealth is built. So a lot of people who own real estate during these times, we see their wealth growing. But the average home appreciates like 3 to 4% per year. And so if you look at the example here, if you bought a property for $300,000 in 1 year, it could appreciate approximately $10,000. And so it just compounds over time every year as time passes. Now there's up and downs. So sometimes it goes up higher than usual, or sometimes it actually can reduce in value. But this is the average over the long term, including the highs and the lows. So appreciation is icing on the cake. It's not guaranteed. I'm not trying to teach that it's guaranteed, but it's important to know that. And then mortgage pay down. So when your tenants are paying, this is the beauty of multifamily real estate, because if you're just starting off with single family and you're just buying it as your primary residence, you're the one that's responsible for all the mortgage payments. However, with multifamily, every month someone is paying down your mortgage and increasing your equity. And again, if you have equity in an asset, you're increasing your wealth and you're increasing your net worth. And then on top of that, you're getting cash flow from that multifamily property. So those are the benefits. And then later on, I say you can convert it to a rental, but more importantly is once you start off house hacking, living in that 1 unit, after staying there and living there for a year, you can move out of that property and convert it to a complete rental, a pure investment. And so it's already a rental from day one. And that's why it's so important to get in that 2 to 4 unit range, because you're getting cash flow from the different units. But after that first year or 2 years, or however long you decide to stay, you can actually move out and convert it to a pure rental, right? So let's talk about the requirements for qualification, because you're hearing, okay, this stuff is great, it's a benefit, you got to invest, but how do we actually get approved, right? All right, so a mortgage is a 30-year commitment. Keep this in mind. Banks they need to be sure that you're trustworthy enough, right, and capable enough to pay back your mortgage over that 30-year period. So they create a profile of a borrower that is lendable, somebody that they can depend on, that's trustworthy, and that they can give money to so that this person can go buy a home. So if you know those minimum requirements and you improve your finances to the point where you meet those requirements, then you can get qualified. It's just like they don't care about, how tall you are or where you're from or anything like that. If you meet that threshold, you get that approval. So let's talk about it. It's primarily based on your income and your credit score. But again, you can get hundreds of thousands of dollars of OPM, other people's money, and use that money to buy that 2 to 4 unit multifamily. Let's see here. Okay, so to apply for a mortgage, there are 7 set of documents that you typically need. Keep in mind, each lender is different, but this is just generally speaking, you'll be able to apply with these 7 documents. So the first one is your W-2s or your pay stubs. So this is in order to document your current income. Lenders need to see paychecks, 1099s if you're self-employed, if you're on Social Security and you have a steady, dependable income source as social SSI or Social Security. They just need to see that, right? The other thing is tax returns. They like to see income for the last 24 months. So tax returns will show that steady income and what level that income was at. Bank statements. So we're going to get deeper into this, but you need reserves, you need money for down payment, and you need closing costs to prove that you have the capability to even buy the home or afford to purchase it, right? So they need to see those bank statements. And then the credit history or your credit score. Again, credit score is a measurement of your ability to repay back a debt. That's what you basically are signing up for, is to get a 30-year mortgage and agree to pay it back over that time. So they definitely need to see that. And then rental history. If you've been a renter prior to owning, have you been evicted, right? Have you been able to make on-time payments? So they want to get that proof and that information. And then the basics like a proof of ID is necessary, verification of your identity, government issued ID. And then this is something kind of unique and interesting, is the gift letter. So a lot of people may or may not know that you can get your down payment in the form of a gift. So it can be from your family member. It can also be from an employer or a nonprofit organization or some down payment assistance programs. So we're going to review some of those low down payment programs for you guys to get into multifamily properties later on in the presentation. But there's even a program that is 0% down. So no money down programs exist. So we'll talk about that. And you can buy units with it as well. And then the other thing is PMA, positive mental attitude. So it's the bonus item. I just, sprinkle that on the top of everything is the PMA, which is the positive mental attitude, because it's a lot of trials, a lot of tribulations. Somebody put a question in there. They said, okay, how do I find the comps for the 2 to 4 units, which is the comparable sales? You may miss out on deals. You may just be constantly looking for deals, and it may be stressful, right? So I think it's really important to keep that and maintain that positive mental attitude. Okay, so let's talk about the credit score. And we already said that the credit scores determine that trustworthiness, right? The higher your score, the more likely you are to pay that mortgage on time. A lot of people hear about Credit Karma. This isn't necessarily a credible source. The best thing you can do is go to freecreditreport.com, and this will provide a free credit report once a year from the 3 credit bureaus. The government allows you to get your credit report once a year for free. So I recommend you guys go check that website out so you can get an idea. And then I want to show you guys the credit score based on the loan program. So if you're thinking about the VA loan, this is for all my veterans. If you have your certificate of entitlement, they call it, which is just saying that you served, you were, honorably discharged, or whatever your circumstances are, and you qualified. This is the credit score needed for that 0% down loan for our veterans. And you could buy up to 4 units as a single individual, and you could buy 6 to 7 units if it's 2 veterans on the loan, right? So as long as you guys are both occupying one of the units, you can buy up to 6 to 7 units in the 7th unit, including like a commercial storefront or something like that. But typically speaking, most lenders will do up to 4 units for a single individual, and the credit score is 620. So when you see these minimums, you can see that it's not really that high. You don't have to have an 850 credit score to get into real estate. FHA, this is the Federal Housing Administration. This is a low down payment program that we discussed, one of the key programs that will allow you to buy 2 to 4 unit multifamily properties to get started with house hacking. And you only need a 580 to get started. Conventional, this is between 15 and 25% down. You only need a 640. Keep in mind with the credit score, the higher your score, the better interest rates you're going to receive. So the higher your credit score, the lower interest rates. Think of it like a credit card or a car loan. If your interest rate is high, then your payment is going to be high. So you want your interest rate to be lower. And in order to get a lower interest rate, you need a higher credit score. So it's always worth it to work on and improve your credit. But this is just to let you know, to get into the door, the minimum are these numbers here for each loan program. I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about a program that's not well known, but it's powerful. It's not well known, but it's powerful. It's called the NACA program, Neighborhood Assistance Corporation of America. Neighborhood Assistance Corporation of America, NACA.com. So you probably won't hear about it much outside of this presentation, but it's really powerful. You can buy 4 units, triplexes, duplexes, single family homes, condos, townhomes with 0 money down, 0 closing costs. So the credit score here is no minimum credit score. So they work with you. They will look at your electricity bills, your phone bills, and see, okay, has this person been paying their phone bill on time, their cable bill on time, their internet on time, even if you have a low credit score or very little credit history, right? So this program is really unique. We're going to touch on this after we talk about all the other programs, but I usually have a separate slide for it because it's special and not that many people know about it. Something that's really important to understand, the next topic is the debt to income ratio, or DTI percentage. One of the keys to getting approved for a home loan or a mortgage. So let's talk about how debt to income is actually calculated. So debt to income is calculated by taking your total monthly debt payments on your credit report. So if you print out that credit report from freecreditreport.com, it's going to show you all the different revolving credits and debts that you have. And you want to take those monthly debt payments, not the total debt that you have. So if you got a $10,000 debt, it's not that. It's the debt payment, how much you owe them monthly, what are your monthly obligations, and you divide that number by your gross monthly income. Gross monthly income means your income before taxes, before the government gets their share. So some examples are like car loans, student loans, credit cards. Those are examples of the monthly debts. All right, so that's how it's calculated, but let's talk about the 2 different types of debt to income ratio that your lender is going to look at. There's the front end and there's the back end. The front end and there's the back end. So the front end only includes your monthly mortgage payment. So the lender wants to say, okay, this person makes $6,200 a month. How much of the mortgage is going to eat up that disposable income, that disposable monthly income, because we want to make sure that they're comfortable making these mortgage payments so that they don't default or they don't go bankrupt, they don't lose the loan, right, and stop paying, or they're not able to pay. So that's the first measurement. So you have, say you make $6,200 a month, your monthly mortgage payment is $2,000. You would take the 2,000 divided by the 6,200, and now you have the 32% debt to income ratio on the front end. Notice that this doesn't include your car loan, student loan, credit card debt, none of that, right? It's just the front end. So 32% is like a good number. Around that number is good for the front end. They like it around 30%. They don't want your housing expense to be more than 30% of your gross income. But the back end, it includes all your monthly debts. So both your mortgage, credit card, student loans, all that, right? So say all of those things, your credit card, student loan, car note, all that stuff, adds up to $1,000. Now the lender adds the $1,000 to the 2,000 for a total of 3,000, and we divide that 3,000 by the 6,200 to get a debt to income ratio of 48% on the back end. So now the bank says, okay, will this person be able to afford all of their debts and our mortgage that we're qualifying them for? And each loan program has their upper limit for the back end debt to income ratio. So people say, can I qualify? Should I pay off some debts? Should I pay off all my student loans? Should I pay off my credit cards? It really depends on your debt to income ratio and how comfortable you are in having to pay, all those debts every single month. This doesn't even include daycare. This doesn't even include the gym membership. This doesn't include the groceries, nothing, gas. So you have to keep in mind, if I have 50% of my income going towards my monthly debts, what about just living expenses, right? I have to be careful in that consideration. But the one thing I will say, in addition, when you're buying a multifamily, that's why it's so important to house hack, is that your monthly income doesn't just stop at the 6,200. Keep in mind, you're going to be getting money from the tenants. And so those tenants will help you pay down that monthly mortgage. So you may get into a scenario where you could be getting $2,000 or more, 2,500 from the rents, and it pays all of the mortgage and just totally eliminates that. So that's what we're going to discuss a little bit later. So this is the debt to income percentage or debt to income ratio based on the loan program. So this is the VA loan, FHA, conventional. And then there's always some, I put individual lender requirements may vary. So sometimes you can go a little bit higher. Sometimes because you have other considerations going on, they want it to be lower. Like if you don't have a lot of cash reserves with VA, they like you to have reserves and stuff like that, so you don't lose the property. It's a little bit flexibility, but in general, this is the number. And then remember I said we'll talk about NACA as well, because it's like a different special program. But here's that debt to income ratio for the NACA program. Same with the NACA program. There's a little bit of leeway. It just depends on your personal circumstances. So let's talk about the down payment requirements by program. Banks want to see that you have skin in the game. They want to see that you actually have invested some of your own money, own capital to go and get this multifamily property. So here's a down payment based on the loan program. If you're going VA, is 0 to 1% down. And the reason is that sometimes they have you pay some of the closing costs, and so it can add up to about like 1%. But generally speaking, with VA is 0% down. This is just for our veterans. FHA is only 3.5% down, and you could get that duplex, triplex, or 4-unit. A lot of people don't know this, right? When I put here conventional 3 to 5%, what this means is that if you're buying a single family, there's conventional loan programs where you could you can do 3 to 5% down. They actually resurrected. Shout out to, I don't like getting super political because, you know, things are so polarized nowadays, but Biden administration brought back the 5% down duplex. It existed for a while, and then it went away, and then they brought it back. So you can also use 5% down conventional on a duplex. 20% conventional isn't the only option. When I say 20%, I mean 20% down. A lot of people hear conventional and they think, okay, it's only 20% down, 25% down, but there's other options with the conventional. We're good on time. We're good, making a good pace. So I want to make sure we have time for questions. But down payment based on the loan program continued. This special program, unique program, 0% down. Is it real? Is it possible? Yes, very much true. I know you'll hear the stuff I say about NACA. You'll be like, wait a minute, this just sounds weird. It sounds crazy. It sounds too sweet to be true. It's real. So we've helped people buy, you know, duplexes in New York City, 0% down, Los Angeles, 0% down, 4 units in Boston, all across the country, with 0% down. So it does exist. Let's talk about closing costs and reserves, because that's going to be something that you need as well when you're trying to buy that first 2 to 4 unit multifamily. It's typically I put 5%, but really it can go up to 6%. 2 to 6% of the home price. It's tough for this this portion because Georgia has certain you know, closing costs. California has different closing costs. Each state has different closing costs, so it's a range depending on your state. And what you would do is just multiply 2% by the home purchase price. So say you're buying $1 million 4 unit, and you have 2% closing costs, that's going to be 20 grand, right? So that's still a hefty cost when you're buying multifamily. So it's something you need to keep in mind. And the closing costs include appraisal, the home inspection, loan origination fees, lender fees. Closing costs can and should be confirmed with the lender. Again, they vary by state. And then the reserves are very important. Typically speaking, when you're buying a 3 to 4 unit multifamily property, you will need 3 to 6 months of mortgage payments in reserve. So if your mortgage is $5,000, 3 months of mortgage payments in reserves would be $15,000, right? And then if it's 6 months, it'll be $30,000 in reserves saved up. And people say, well, why do you need emergency reserves? For emergencies. In case a pandemic pops off, in case the tenant stop paying for 2-3 months, in case the plumbing goes out or the ceiling falls in because of a leak or something like that. You got to be prepared because that's how people get wiped out. Especially a lot of, you know, new investors or, you know, quote unquote minority, Black, Latino investors, is they get into the real estate, they don't have deep reserves, something happens, and then they're wiped out. So you definitely want to make sure you put your reserves to the side. Closing costs and reserves for NACA. Again, we have a special slide for NACA. Is going to be for the closing costs. It's actually no closing costs for NACA. And why I put 1% is that there are closing costs, but we're going to go deeper into it because you do have to bring money to the table. So a lot of people hear, oh man, 0% down NACA, 0% closing costs. Do you have to bring money to the table still? Do you still need money? The answer is yes. This slide will cover what kind of money you need to use NACA to buy a 4-unit apartment building in your city or a triplex in your city. So NACA pays for lender fees, loan origination fees, and escrow fees. But you have to pay for the closing costs. This is actually a typo, so sorry. It says you have to pay for the closing costs, including appraisal, home inspection, loan origination fees, and lender fees. But you don't have to pay for the last two, which are the loan origination fees and the lender fees. It's just the appraisal, the home inspection, taxes, and insurance for the first year. So appraisal, which could be a few $100s, or $1,000 if you're buying like in expensive areas. It just depends. Home inspection, taxes, and insurance for that first year. So when you add those up, typically it's 1% of the purchase price. So say you're buying again $1 million 4 unit, 1% would be about 10 grand that you have to bring to the closing table to buy with NACA, not including reserves. So that's a pretty solid deal to be able to buy a 4 unit, $1 million 4 unit with the NACA program. Is just bringing those one time or those reoccurring closing costs fees to the table. So again, it can vary. The home inspections and appraisals, they vary by state. So you want to just check with your local market and stuff. But yeah, that's how you calculate it. And then you will need 4 to 6 months of mortgage payments and reserves. So yes, you can get started with very little, but we're not saying that you can just come to the table with nothing, no job, no credit, no nothing. You still need certain things, and that's why we're covering everything. But you just need 4 to 6 months of mortgage payments. Remember what I said? If the mortgage is 5 grand, and you need 4 months, that's 20 grand, right? If it's the mortgage is 5,000, you need 6 months, then you just multiply it out, 30 grand, right? So it depends on what kind of property you're buying with NACA, with the NACA program. If you're buying a duplex, you only need 4 months of mortgage payments and reserves. Then it just goes up from there. A triplex, you need 5 months of mortgage payments and reserves. A 4 unit, 6 months of mortgage payments and reserves. Now, when you compare this 1%, this 10 grand on $1 million property and some reserves, you compare this to bring 20% down, which is like 250 grand, plus closing costs, plus reserves. So I have clients out here in LA, dentists, doctors, lawyers, they come and drop 300 grand for the duplex. They come and drop 200, 400 grand on a 4 unit to get started. And all you have to do is drop less than 40, 50 grand, depending on your city. In New York and LA, you have to do more, but I know we have followers from all over Kentucky, everywhere. This is like you almost getting into the door with nothing, getting started, become an owner with way less than these other programs, right? So yeah, let's move to the next slide. I want to move a little bit quicker. We want to save some time for questions. So house hacking, let's discuss that a little bit further. If you house hack like Jason did, if you house hack like Mark has done, you can turn your home into an asset. You can live in one of those units, rent out the other units, and either reduce your housing expense or you can completely eliminate it. You can live mortgage free or rent free. Take that money, save, invest, pay off debts, right? Travel, whatever you want to do, pay for school. It's really powerful. So we already discussed some of this, so I'm going to kind of breeze through this part, but there's different strategies. You can rent by the room. You can have like a finished basement or income suite, right? And rent that out. Or you can do what we talk about here, which is a small multifamily. It's classic. You live in one of the units, rent out the other ones. And then I don't know about other states. I know some states have it on the West Coast, but we have something called an additional dwelling unit. It's like a grandmother suite or like an in-law suite or granny flat. It's just like an extra small guest house kind of that has maybe 1 bedroom, a bathroom, and a kitchen. It's really small, and you could rent that out. Or you could live in that and then rent the main house. So some people do that here in California. I'm not super familiar with all 50 states and if you guys have the ADUs or not, but they're really popular here in California. So keep in mind, a lot of people try to figure out, how do I get ahead? How do I get started in investing? How do I get money, right? Well, the average American spends 33% of their income on housing. Instead of trying to cut back on, reducing how much you go out to eat, cutting back on Starbucks, cutting back on the alcohol, whatever, why don't you just eliminate your housing? Get rid of 30% of your expenses and start stacking that. If you eliminate your largest expense, instead of paying 2 grand a month for rent $1,000 a month for rent. You take that, and now every first of the month, you got $1,000 sitting on your kitchen table. You got $1,000 on your work desk extra. That's how you can get ahead, quicker. So again, what would your life look like if you saved extra, not extra, if you save 50, 60, or 70% of your income by house hacking? You'd be getting ahead a lot faster. So we kind of already talked about financing the multifamily, but I just want to compare single family to multifamily. With single family, banks use your income alone, whereas with the multifamily on the 2 to 4 unit, the banks use 75% of rental income to help you qualify. So say your income is $5,000 a month, and you find a 4 unit after you've taken this webinar or you've seen this talk, and you say, I want to go get a 4 unit. And you find a 4 unit that has $4,000 in gross rental income. The bank will multiply that 4,000 by 75%. And now you have $3,000 a month that they're going to add on top of your 5,000, and they're going to qualify you at $8,000 a month. So they allow you to use the future income, the future rental income from the tenants of the property you don't even own yet, but that you plan on buying, that you will buy, to qualify. So that's the power of multifamily 2 to 4 units, because now you get to stand on the rental income and qualify for more. But that means you can qualify. When you qualify for more, you can buy better buildings, better neighborhoods, better schools, right? More appreciation. So it's really powerful. We already talked about this. But we'll talk about it a little bit further. Primary residence financing, owner occupied financing. When you live in the property for 1 year, you're able to qualify for less than 20% down payment programs because you're not considered an investor. But technically you are being an investor because you're buying units. You're buying a 2 unit, a triplex, or a 4 unit. But in the bank's eyes, they're like, no, this is just another person buying their primary residence. So we're going to give them the benefits. You can buy with 0% down. You can use FHA, 3.5% down, etc. A lot of people say, yeah, that sounds good, Jason, Mark, that sounds good. But why don't I just start off with a single family and I'll buy the multifamily stuff later? Well, it's easier to go from a multifamily to a single, right? You just, it's easier to go from a multifamily to a single. You put 3.5% down, live in 1 unit, and move out after 12 months. And then later, after you move out, you can then go put down again, take advantage of another not first time, but owner occupant loan, and go and buy a single family after you turn the 4 unit into a rental, right? And now you can own your multifamily and you can own the single family. But if you start off instead with the single family, you'll have to go and put 25% down to qualify for a 4 unit triplex or duplex as a rental property. So it's a lot easier to start off with the multifamily 2 to 4 units. So I want to talk about private mortgage insurance briefly because a lot of people ask about it. Whenever you put down less than 20% on your home, the banks require you to insure the home with private mortgage insurance. It's an additional expense, and it makes FHA loans more costly than putting down 20%. However, with the 2 to 4 unit properties, keep in mind the tenants can pay for the mortgage. And so whether there's PMI or not, that extra expense, if you get a good property and the tenants are covering all of it, you're still living mortgage free. You're still living rent free. And then later on, you can refinance out once you get enough equity. And also, again, with the Biden administration, recent laws have actually lowered the private mortgage insurance. They just announced that this month, I think, or last month. and they're going to be saving new buyers hundreds of dollars a month and thousands of dollars a year on the private mortgage insurance. But VA loans and NACA does not have private mortgage insurance, so you don't even have to worry about that with those programs. Do you see now with all these benefits why house hacking, like Jason did, like I did, is the best way to get started? So just want to give you guys a couple tips, then we can get into the Q&A. Buying in this year and beyond, how to prepare now for future success. I'll say keep increasing your knowledge, going to lives like this, learn as much as possible. It's going to increase your comfort, your confidence, and competence. Get some books, listen to podcasts. Some books that I recommend are Set for Life, The House Hacking Strategy by Craig Curelop, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude. And then if you guys want this list, I can send it to Jason later so you guys can use it as a reference. Also, the House Hacking Podcast is a great podcast. Millionaire Mindsets. It's all things money, real estate, stocks, and mindset. Bigger Pockets Podcast. I don't know if anyone has heard of that. It's really famous. And then Earn Your Leisure. Earn as much as possible. Save as much as possible. Set your goal and work towards it. Join local real estate networking groups, both online and in person. Try and limit and pay off your debts. And we made it to the Q&A. I will say I do have to use the restroom. I'll be right back. But put your questions in the chat, and I'll be right back. 1 minute.
All right. Good deal. So while we wait on Mark to come back, if we got any questions, I see some in the chat already. So we can run through those. What did I lose it? All right. Let's see. We got a question about the slides. Yeah, we can ask Mark about that if he'll be willing to share those with us. It did. All right. So I had a thing. My number one question when I come back is going to be about that 6 to 7 units with a VA loan. I've never heard of that before. I was like, I had to ask the question to clarify, because I'm like, if you can do that, that is huge. But another thing that I saw that I wanted to chat about, just thinking like an investor, right? So I know some people, you may not even have the income to go with a 2 to 4 unit, or be concerned about where you're going to get your 2 to 4 unit property from, or the money for the down payment from. But if I was an investor, I mean, which you are, right? I would go to investors and maybe work out some sort of deal where if they put all the down payment down and it's just an investment for you and it's an investment for an investor and you can get a gift, maybe there's something that you can work out with an investor where they'll do your down payment for you and you could potentially live there. You know, you got agreement, hey, we live there for a year and then we split the profits of the equity or whatever that is in order to be able to get that down payment. Now, I'm just saying, but it sounds like one great way, you know, regardless of what your income level or reserves to down payment is, to be able to make a deal work. All right, we got Mark back. I want to run through some of these questions to see if we can get those answered. I know there was one about slides. Can you share the slides or give them to me and I can share them out to the group or something?
Yes.
Okay. Easy peasy. All right, so we'll work that out to make sure we get the slides there. The question I had was like, did I hear you right that you can buy a 6 to 7 unit?
Yeah, so I didn't even know this either, bro. It was like shocking. One of my lenders that helped me buy my 11 unit portfolio deal out in Pennsylvania, she dropped that gem on me, and I'm like, what? I never heard anything like that. But after verifying it, it was true. It was true. But what I said, and I'll say it again more specifically because I didn't have it written down. You know, you guys probably didn't catch everything, but it's when it's 2 veterans. So it's not one veteran can buy the 6 to 7 unit. It has to be 2 veterans on the loan. And as long as you guys are occupying one of the, I should say, both occupying the 6 or 7 unit, like living in it, then you can purchase 6 up to, and when I say 7, they allow for, like, say you buy something that has like a barbershop or beauty salon or storefront at the bottom, and then there's 6 units at the top or 6 units in the back. That's that extra unit that you can qualify for. which is insane because I just bought on Thanksgiving. I just bought a 6 unit, and that thing is beautiful. So to be able to get it zero down as a VA, two VAs coming together, two veterans, I should say, with the VA loan, that's incredible. A lot of people don't know about it, but yeah, you can do it.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. One unit for each veteran, and you still got four there as an investment property.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
incredible.
that's great.
I,
Or if you're
I,
married, as well. Yep. Go
oh
for it.
yeah,
Go.
or if you're married, that's a great point actually. I see Michael has one, and then I'm gonna go up. Actually, you know what? Benjamin Hardy asked one really early before we even started. How do you get the comps on 2 to 4 units? So, what I would recommend, I mean, there's so many ways of doing it, but there's a couple ways. You could just ask an agent. So, if you're working with a investor-friendly real estate agent, you could say, "Hey, I want to get some comps on these 2 to 4 unit properties that were sold in my market in the last 6 months, and compare them to these in this radius, this unit within this radius." So say you're buying in the south part of, I don't know, DC, Southeast DC or whatever. You want to say, okay, only in Southeast DC in the last 6 months, show me 4 units that are similar to the 4 unit that I'm looking for or that I already bought, and that'll give you an idea. You can also do it yourself on websites like redfin.com. If you go to redfin.com and you put sold properties, and then you create a map of sold properties within that map, it won't limit it specifically to 2 to 4 units, but you can do multifamily, and you have to sort through the list and see which ones are duplexes, which ones are triplexes, which ones are 4 units. So I hope that helps. Jason, I don't know if you have anything else you want to add to that, but if not, I'll move to the next question.
No, I think I think
Oh,
we got
got you.
the majority of them. I asked about the slides, and let's see. Oh, yeah. So Michael was asking about, are you able to use any loans to pay for renovations? Meaning you found a
Okay.
multifamily that needs work, and you can take a larger loan to pay for forced depreciation prior to the tenants moving in. Any thoughts about that, Mark?
Yeah, so Michael, that's a really good question. So the VA has a renovation loan. A lot of people don't know about that, but the VA does have a renovation loan. You can actually include, when we say renovation loan, what Michael is just saying is, find a beat up or fixer upper or just something that needs light rehab, and you can go in and fix it up and force value and force appreciation. So the VA loan has that. You just have to find a lender that does a VA renovation loan. FHA has that. It's called FHA 203K. There's a streamlined one where you just do renovations that are $25,000 or less, and then there's the full blown FHA 203K. One of my students used that loan in New York, up in New York City, and bought a total fixer upper off market and added like over $200,000 in value by doing a renovation. NACA also, NAC is like a crazy powerhouse loan, but it includes renovations as well. And you can finance the renovations, so not money out of your pocket coming from the bank instead. And you can renovate that 4 unit, that duplex or that triplex. So yeah, that's a great question. Let me see. I think there's another question that I may have missed. Hold on, let me scroll
Another one
down.
like creative financing, like subject to something like that.
Got it. So Hardy, Benjamin Hardy, I scrolled up. There's one more question. I don't want to miss it before I get to the subject to creative stuff. There's one. Somebody said, Benjamin Hardy said, how many times will NACA finance after you buy your first quad? So if you buy your first quad as a 4 unit, they will only do that one time. So it's not like they're just, I mean, America is good. It ain't that good where you can just go to NACA and they just give you zero down on 4 units until you get up to 1,000 units. They don't do that. It's just one time thing, get you started. And then from there, you can keep investing like Jason has or like I have, but they just do it that one time. And then we can go to the creative financing question. Somebody said, have you ever tried creative financing, e.g. subject to? The only creative financing that I've done is seller financing, where the seller will take back a note, and it could be like a 5-year note, and it means that it allows you to put less down. So say you go get a loan from the bank for 75% of the actual value of the 4 unit or the multifamily property. The seller could say, hey, I'll give you another 10% of the value or 20% of the value, and you only have to bring 5% of your own money down. So I've done that before, but there's so many type of creative strategies. There's like rent to own, lease to own, master lease. There's like 1,001 subject to. I don't do that. Honestly, I keep it really simple. Get the cash flow, low down payment, 20% down, 25% down, and keep it simple like that. So that's how I do it.
Nice. Let's see.
That's cool.
Let's do one more, Mark. You want to get that last one?
Yeah, it says, hold on, did I miss it? The VA loan also has a one-time close loan program. This is a loan you can use to buy land and build new construction. All other VA loan benefits still apply. So this is really awesome. No other program really allows you, none of the ones I mentioned allow you to buy land and then construct and build a property on it. So if you're able to do what Rod Wilson is talking about through the VA OTC program, I really recommend that. They allow you to buy new construction with FHA, with conventional, and with NACA, but most of them do not allow you to buy land and then build on it. A lot of my students in Texas always ask that because they just have so much dang land out there. You can buy a parcel of land and then build it up. So yeah, it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure being here with you guys. I'm happy to use. Or somebody said there's another question. It looks sorry, I got distracted by the other question. Is that OTC for fourplexes or duplexes? Yeah. So he said all the other VA loan details still apply. So you can do it with fourplexes and duplexes. Again, it's just been a pleasure. It's an honor, Jason, man. You inspire me, man. I follow you on my private page, like I said, and you taught me a lot. I don't know if I should share where they could find me, or you're gonna put the link underneath.
Absolutely, man. How can people reach out to you? I know you mentioned your students. What did you say? 30 million of real estate or something like that?
Yeah. So they bought $30 million worth of real estate. And what I mean by that is, like, some people bought in the Bay Area, bought a duplex for $1 million. Some people bought 4 units in LA. Some people bought 4 units in New York City by using this information that we're sharing and applying it. What I've done is created a online page, Instagram. You can find me at Living Rent Free, Instagram / Living Rent Free. So no G. We can just put it in the chat here, Living Rent Free. And also, if you want to follow me on LinkedIn, it's Mark Jones II on LinkedIn. And then the other thing is that I've sent Jason and his virtual assistant a discounted link to my course. And what I have is, and none of you have to buy the course. I'm offering it, right? I hate selling these things, but what it is that I notice people have a lot of questions, and so I give a lot of free sessions, but it's not comprehensive. It doesn't cover all the information. And so in the course is very comprehensive, very detailed videos, PDFs, glossary, frequently asked questions, everything answered in one place. And you guys, because you rock with Jason, you get a huge discount on that. And I sent him the link, and you guys can take advantage of that.
Awesome. Mark, man, I appreciate you. Appreciate everybody who joined in and got all this free game that's been given out here. I think that if you take this and apply it, I mean, it's definitely a way to change everything. For me, I would say, like, I didn't buy a home to live in, to actually, just because I wanted a home, until like now, right? Every other investment, even though I had a place to live, every other place that I live was an investment, you know what I mean? Regardless of that. And I think if you adopt that philosophy, you can take what Mark said and really be able to build a portfolio as you go. And then you get to, like, all right, now I'm going to buy a place that I really want to live at, because I have all these investments that help me do it. So thank you for that, brother. I really appreciate it, man. We'll be in touch, and I'll drop the link, man. So if anybody wants to check out your course and have you help them with a 2 to 4 unit, I think that'd be great.
Yep. Thank you, guys. Have a great Friday.
All right. You too. Y'all take care. Later.